What is going on, team? Okay, we are going live with another episode of the podcast. Okay, ripping out to all the socials, and we're going to start this one in a couple of minutes. Guys, welcome back to another episode of the podcast. I hope you guys have had an amazing week so far. We are getting amongst it. So I'm going to let everyone know that we are here and ready to rock and roll. So as you're coming into this podcast episode, guys, let us know in the comments that you're here, that you're ready to play along live. We're going to start this in 2 minutes, and we're going to be talking a little bit about fatigue and just accumulation of some sleep debt and what that actually looks like. Good morning, Tez. I hope you're good. Hope you're having a fantastic start to the day or into the day. Now, I've got my kids running around in the at the same time here, so hopefully that they're going to behave, and I've no doubt my beautiful wife is going to help me out with doing so. So if you're coming into this one live, guys, let us know. Get down in the comments, say hello. Hey, Katie. Hey, Jules. Jules, you're so consistent. I love it. Hey, Kyles, I hope you're well. We're going to start this episode off in 2 minutes, team. So if you've got any questions or comments throughout the podcast episode, then feel free to absolutely let us know. I also want to say welcome to all of our new guys and girls inside Better Body Academy, to which there are a ton, and it's so good. It's so lovely to see you guys in here. Guys, we're starting this one in 1 minute, so prepping up. We're going to be talking a little bit about fatigue, okay? And what do you do when you hit the wall? Because I think that this is something that all of us deal with. It's not just the ones that are pushing hard. So if this is a big thing for you, let us know. We got Dennis here. We got Stevie Boy here. What's going on, boys? I hope you're good. Hello, Steph Loader. Lovely to have your company. Hey, Laws. Welcome to our program as well. Some beautiful humans coming in for this one. All right, team. So I am going to bring the crew on in Instagram, and then we are going to get this started. All right, we ready? Let's do it. On the count of 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Welcome back to the Better Body Academy podcast. This is the podcast that you come to when you are sick of the dumb diets and unsustainable workout programs. I hope you guys have had a beautiful start to the week, whether you're in Better Body Academy or you're doing a transformation on your own. I'm going to answer a question live with a podcast episode that I just got from one of my long-term legendary clients, Matty Dawson. He says the following: "Hi, mate. I went away for a week. I felt so drained. I looked it up. Can you have creatine withdrawals?" It makes sense because I'm normally taking 10 grams of creatine per day, and I felt really, really weak. I didn't have any creatine while I was away, but as soon as I got home and started taking it, I felt much better. Right. So I don't know if any of you guys have experienced this. So I thought this is very much worth doing. So to be completely frank, I'd never heard of creatine withdrawals before in my life. Having said that, it would make total sense that you would have a sense of energy withdrawal or drainage, because creatine, what it actually is, at the tiny cellular level, it's an energy source for your muscles. It's the type of energy source that fuels gym-based or high-power movements. Does this make sense? So things like lifting weights, and I see that Angie's live from the gym here, this is the creatine system that is being used. So if you've got to the point where you're supplementing with creatine and all of a sudden you stop taking it, then yeah, I think that it would be completely normal that you would feel a tapering off of your energy levels. Right? And that's because I don't think it's a withdrawal so much, but it's just the fact that you're not taking something that you've used to supplement your energy levels. Creatine, if you're unaware, is an incredibly effective and actually very cheap supplement. It is the most studied supplement on the market. And for me personally, Maddie, to answer your question, I would always continue to take creatine when I am away. I would take it because the benefits of creatine are far-reaching and far beyond just muscle strength and endurance and power and muscle building activity. We're talking, perceived anti-cancer benefits, anti-dementia benefits. The reasoning for this is that creatine on a cellular level is effectively the fuel for a little organs in our cells called mitochondria. And so if you have extra creatine, the cells are able to function better. So for this reason and the price of it, I would always just to continue taking creatine. Now, if you're listening to this podcast, and I'm going to rattle off some names, Nicole Pierce, Ben Robinson, Alex Little, all my boys, all my girls, Dennis, Steve, if you are listening to this podcast, Julie, Laura, if you're listening to this podcast and you are not taking creatine, you should be taking creatine. It is extremely safe, and I'm to the point where I'm always pushing my 60-something-year-old mum to take creatine. You should be taking creatine. It is the most studied supplement on the planet, and you should be taking it. It's cheap. I'm talking $30 will get you 3 months supply. So if you're a woman, what I would do is take around 5 grams a day just in water, just before you train is fine, or in the morning when you wake up. It doesn't really matter. If you're a man, I would actually bump it up to about 2 teaspoons, about 10 grams per day. Now, that's not really the point of the podcast, because what I want to talk about here is actually what I think is going on with Matt and why he all of a sudden hit the wall as soon as he went on holidays. And the reason I want to talk about this is because I experience every time I experience and experienced the same thing. I think what's going on here is you are experiencing sleep debt needing to be repaid. Who here right now is absolutely pushing it in their life? Who here is like literally giving it horns? They're going to the gym, they're eating in a calorie deficit with the attempt to try to lose weight, they're lifting hard, they are crazy with work in the lead up to Christmas, they feel like it's everything all at once. If that's you, give me a silent head nod or let me know in the comments, because that's exactly what it's like for me. I fucking never stop. Now, if that's you, I want to give you an analogy for what's going on. Most people need around 7 to 8 hours of sleep per day. So what that means is that if you're constantly needing, for example, 7.5 hours, but you're getting 6.5 hours of sleep over the course of a 7-day period, you will have accumulated 7 times 1. So 7 times 1 hour of sleep debt per day. You've accumulated 7 hours of sleep debt over the course of a week. Now, sleep debt works exactly like credit card debt. You can't just decide, you know what, I'm just going to get back to normal now. I'm just going to decide I'm just going to hope that the bank's going to take back the credit that I've all put. It doesn't work like that. The bank wants their take, right? And your body wants its take. So you hit the wall for one reason. Your body is saying to you, fucking stop. That's what your body is saying to you. Your body is saying to you, sorry, Tim, Luffy, Carly, Sean. It's saying to you, we're going to put the brakes on to save you from yourself. This happens every time I take my foot off the gas. I feel like I'm 100%. And then I drop back to 80 or 90%, have a weekend off, and I'm like, oh. So there's 2 things that I think are going on. The body's actually saying to me, sleep debt, right, needs to be put in place and repaid. The second thing is that all of the adrenaline that we run on, going from this to 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 this, all of a sudden slows down. Adrenaline is the fight or flight hormone, right? If you are in our program, if you know me, I'm like this all the time, right? I'm energetic all the time because I believe that leading with energy is so important. Having said that, at the end of the day, when I'm sitting down having a cup of tea or just about to go to bed, I feel all the adrenaline go, woo. So it almost like drips out of me. And so when I go on holidays, that's almost profound. An interesting thing happens, and I'm interested in whether any of you have noticed this, because I know a few of you have recently been on holidays. Did you notice that the moment you take your foot off the gas, the first 2 or 3 days of your holiday, you feel like shit? Like you're like, oh my God. And you're looking yourself in the mirror and your face feels gaunt and a little bit depleted and dehydrated, and your body doesn't look that good. But then all of a sudden, 3 to 4 days after your holiday starts, you might be eating more food, you might be not training as much, maybe your steps are going down. So in other words, you're doing less, but you're actually looking better. How do you reconcile that? Well, what's happening is your body is recovering, it's repaying the sleep debt, and those adrenaline and cortisol and hormone levels are starting to go down. You start looking better, but not before you've paid the sleep debt back. So I wanted you to understand that you can't just delete your sleep debt no more than you can delete credit card debt. If you're ambitious, you're going to be pushing, right? You're going to want to milk as much out of the lemon as you can. And I don't really think that it's practical. I mean, the reality is I think that, what's it called? Life balance, work-life balance is a bit of a myth. I don't know many people that are super duper successful at what they do that have like this like karmic work-life balance. Having said that, having phases of your life where you honestly just decide to offer yourself some compassion and just drop back a little bit into repaying the sleep, making sure that you're looking after yourself, whether that means going and getting a massage or it means sitting down on a balcony and having a glass of wine with your partner. I don't care. But it's a pipe dream to think that you can just be constant all the time without there being a payoff. So for me, I try to pay a little bit of attention to that. And when I don't have duties to my clients, for example, on the weekends, I'll try to have a good solid sleep in or not wake up as early or go and spend a bit of time just relaxing is really, really hard to do for me, but at the same account, really, really important. Now, I'll finish off with answering any questions. If you would like to ask any questions, please pop them in the comments. We're going to finish off the podcast episode here. I'll see you guys in the next episode. Okay, so if you have any questions, guys, about anything that we covered, pop them into the comments now, and I'm happy to answer anything and all of them. Now, I did see a question come from, and I'm losing it now. It was one of the girls that said, oh, okay, is there a certain creatine you recommend? Yes, there absolutely is, Malenka. Great question. There are so many types of creatine, like literally it would take 2 hands to count them. The cool thing about creatine is that you just need to buy the most basic, cheapest one. Don't buy expensive creatines. Expensive creatines have been shown to be less effective than the very base one. The very base one is called creatine monohydrate. Creatine monohydrate. All that creatine monohydrate is the very most basic form. And there's all these other types that you can get. Creatine monohydrate will cost you for about, I don't know, maybe a quarter to a half a kilo of it. It'll cost you like $30. If you live in Australia, I would personally recommend buying it from bulknutrients.com. Bulknutrients.com. I'm not sponsored or anything by it. I don't believe in that stuff. But having said that, they are, if you're in Australia, they are wonderful. Great service, great products, super clean, super cheap. That's where I would go, bulknutrients.com. But to be honest, creatine monohydrate is creatine monohydrate. So as long as you're getting it from a decently reputable company, it doesn't really matter. You can go to GNC and choose anyone. Now, one little thing, if it does say micronized creatine monohydrate, if it says micronized creatine monohydrate, that's cool. All that basically means micronized is it means it's been broken down a little bit smaller, so it dissolves in the water. For any of you that are my age, I'm 42 now. When we first started taking creatine back in the 90s, it was literally like drinking sand. Thank God now, micronizing creatine breaks it down into these tiny, tiny little particles, which basically means that you can consume it. You just stir it with a spoon and it dissolves in the water. Okay, cool. And Laura says, slowing down to speed up. It's a really good point, Laura. I think that we all think that the only way is like a million miles an hour. And don't get me wrong, there's periods of that need to be there. But at the same time, we need to balance it off, right? We need to be able to slow down to speed up, because if we're always pouring from an empty cup, particularly as a parent, right? You can probably hear the kids in the background, I don't know, but it's fucking constant. You need to take a break. Okay, Katie says, this might be a bit specific. And again, guys, if you want to ask any questions, please whack them in the comments. I'm happy to answer them. This might be a bit specific, but having an underactive thyroid, are there any contraindications with creatine? I take it, but I stop if I crash really hard. Also, are there any things that I can do to balance my energy levels? So to the first part of the question, I would see no reason, Katie, why there would be contraindications between thyroid hormones specifically, which is what you got, underactive thyroid hormone, and creatine. I'd see no reasons there, because the two are completely separate. Underactive thyroid hormone is specific to the thyroid gland. Creatine is general, and it's used by all cells, including the brain and the heart. So I'd see no reason. Also, are there other things that I can do to balance my energy levels? That's an interesting question. So that's like balancing. People want balance in their energy levels, balance in their hormones. I kind of struggle to get my head around what that concept actually means. Balance. I mean, what are we trying to get to here? Are we trying to say that I want to not have so many crashes and so many highs? I guess that would be the question, right? That's a hard question, because the nature of life is that it's not a straight line. I mean, the straight answer to your question, to balance your energy levels, would be, and again, we can look at this on different levels. We can talk about balancing your hormones. We could talk about balancing your sugar levels. So, for example, if we're talking about balancing your sugar levels, well, the best way to do that is to consume less processed foods. Less processed foods are going to lead to not as many spikes and troughs, okay? That's one way. Stimulants, okay? Obviously things like caffeine, Red Bull, to which I take a lot. I drink probably, 5 instant coffees a day. For me, I'm not personally looking to balance my energy levels. I'm looking to go as hard as possible through the day and make sure that I can get enough sleep at night. So for me, that is how I would probably think about balance. Like, how can I get the most out of my day, but then how can I ensure that I get the adequate amount of sleep at night? So I would probably think of this as a more macro picture, Katie. That would be my approach personally. Balancing your energy levels as well means taking breaks in between your gym sessions, for example. For example, if you are training 4 days a week and you're batching them all at the start or the end of the week, we want to try to get a day of recovery in between. I think that would be ideal. We could talk about balancing your energy levels within the course of a day. So how would you do that? Well, if you have the ability to work from home and interrupt your otherwise kind of like 10 hours of this sitting at a desk with getting up and going for a walk, that would certainly balance your energy levels for a number of different reasons, helping you with insulin and glucose regulation. I don't want to go into that. But then also things like getting out in the sunshine. I know it's not crazy in Scotland, but I think it probably helps to just, and probably the one that I haven't mentioned here at all there is, what about your life? Like, if you're an overthinker, I think that is the thing that zaps people the most, right, is just like overthinking. Yeah, not crashing out regularly. It's probably because you're doing a lot of like brain shit, right? And when you're putting a lot of demand on yourself and you don't have any peace time, that's the hard bit, right? Particularly if you're a busy mom or dad and you're constantly going from work to kids to dad, it's like very hard to get a break. He said, I look for balance because when I crash, it takes a very long time to get back to normal level of energy to sustain activity. 100%. That could be a consequence partially of the low thyroid, but at the same account, I mean, this sounds very easy, Katie, but the way to approach this is to have a not so all-in approach. So for example, let's say that you're going 100 miles an hour, but you know that in 90% of cases that ends in you just fucking tanking and hitting a wall. Well, then you've got to play a more proactive approach, don't you? You can't push yourself so hard. You've got to be willing to pull up at 80 or 90% so that you can keep moving as opposed to vroom, crash, vroom, crash. Does that make sense? So I think this is more of an attitudinal thing. Hopefully that helps in a way. Guys, any other questions you want to rip out and ask while I'm here? So we've been talking specifically about sleep. We've been talking about creatine, and if there's anything else. Guys, I just think that as far as sleep's concerned, it is the most underappreciated aspect of a transformation. It really is. Like, it really is. If your sleep is crap, your ability to make good choices around food is shit. Because your body's craving for it, your hormones are raging, and you're tired, and so your willpower is just really bad. Have you been on a drive recently when you've been tired? It's fucking horrible. You're sitting there using all your willpower to try to concentrate. But then we go out and have that same willpower level in the real world. Do you reckon there's a good chance that we're going to make some pretty heavy mistakes? Absolutely. And so that's the struggle here. It is the biggest thing. And so are you going to feel like training when you're absolutely broken and tired? No chance. No chance. So I think that sleep is the one umbrella that is probably the most important thing. I could get onto the phone to a client, to any one of you guys, and you might be like, I'm just not sure why I'm not losing weight. I just don't understand why I'm not losing weight. And I'd go through everything. Are you in a calorie deficit? Are you eating enough protein? Okay, cool. How are you training? Are you getting out and doing your 10,000 steps? Are you kind of doing some level of like mindfulness activity, like, man, like what's going on? You're just not losing the weight. It's just not working. What's your sleep like? Oh, fucking horrible. It's terrible. I just don't sleep. That's the problem. That's the problem. That is the source of the issue. So you have to prioritize this. I could do a podcast if you guys like to go through everything around sleep if you would like to, but it's pretty common sense stuff. You got to look at your room. You got to look at your process and not have sleep as this like afterthought that's like not that important. Just because if you have that approach to it, the chances of you losing and maintaining the weight, and secondly, building any form of muscle are zero, absolutely zero. Just quickly check another couple of questions here. I take it, Benny says, I take it, but the boy on gym or run days, should I take it every day? You should take it every day. Absolutely, Benny. You should take it every single day. Again, if it was just for the strength benefits, I would recommend. So for example, if you do a pre-workout powder, I do not do a pre-workout powder because I don't need that extra stimulation. If you do a pre-workout powder, then just take that on the days that you train. But if you don't do a pre-workout powder, you don't take it on there, right? So creatine every day. And it's not the sort of thing that you're going to get like, you're going to all of a sudden notice this like crazy surge boost. It's not like that. People have this idea about supplements. They think, oh yeah, man, I felt it so hard. You won't. The way creatine will generally work is you will start, let's say you're a bloke and you can squat 80 kilograms for 6 reps on a squat. 80 kilograms for 6 reps on a squat. Here is what creatine will help you do. It will help you milk out maybe 7, maybe 8 reps after supplementing every day. You want it to build up after supplementing every day. And then because you're getting those extra 2 reps, you're not necessarily getting profoundly stronger and doing more weight, but because you're getting those extra 2 reps, that's almost like having a spotter, right? Helping you lift the weight up. So the 2 reps that you would have otherwise not done, that's where the growth comes. Does this make sense? But again, I would recommend taking creatine every single day because of all of the non-strength benefits. That would be my recommendation. And the biggest thing with any type of supplement is actually taking it. Like it's really funny. I'm watching right at the moment. I'm sure all you parents have experienced the same thing. How easy it is to get kids to consume vitamin gummies. Like they just want them every day. And so I think one of the things you're going to actually see in the market, in the supplement market, is an explosion of gummies, right? Because of the fact that they are easy to consume. It doesn't feel like a shitty powder or a tablet, right? So the big thing about creatine is for it to be beneficial, you've actually got to take it and take it consistently. And Dennis says, sleep has been my new energy. And yeah, Den, you're a great example of this, man. Like you're a go-getter, right? You're a fucking machine, right? You get after it. And if you get after it to the level that you've got after it, but without paying back the debt, well, you're just going to be hitting the wall every single fucking time. And it's hard. It's really, really hard. All right, some more questions from the girls group. Keep the questions coming, guys, if you would like to ask them. I'm more than happy. And good morning to you as well, James. I hope you're well, buddy. When I used to go to the gym daily consistently for about 8 months, I was so exhausted after each session, I felt like I couldn't function without a nap. Is this because I wasn't fueling my body well, or are there other things that can contribute to that? Yeah, Malenka, this is a bloody great question as well. So there could be many different things. It could be sleep debt, right? You're tired. The second thing is that I want to hear from the guys who are watching this live. Who of you have been in a calorie deficit for a period of time and then decided to wind out that calorie deficit into a reverse diet, and now you're consuming calories back at around maintenance level or in a surplus? Your sessions completely change. Like you have energy, you have strength, you feel fucking amazing. It's because you've got more calories in your system. So one of the hardest parts about being in a fat loss phase is certainly dealing with the fact that you are running out of petrol. I want you to imagine you got your car, right, and the red light's on and it's flashing and and you're pushing down, revving it. That's what's happening when you're in a calorie deficit. So it follows then you're going to really, really struggle. So it could be a number of things, Malenka. It could be, number one, that you were tired, sleep debt. Number two is that you're in a calorie deficit. And a lot of women that are trying to lose fat get down to horribly low calorie levels and they're pouring from an empty cup. What else could it be? It could be, depending on how frequently you are going, it could be that you are overtraining relative to your training level. So for example, most people think that they need to train 5 days a week to get results. I do not think that that is a benefit at all for a new person. I think for a new person, when you guys join our academy and you say, and we ask you the question, how many days a week do you want to train? and you say that I'm a beginner and I want to train 5 days a week, I will try to convince you out of that and say, look, let's just start at 3. 3 is ample. So it could be overtraining as well and not enough recovery. I'll keep going, Malenka. It could be a deficiency in a certain vitamin or mineral. So for example, I'll give you a great example. Assuming you're still in, what's the word? Like you still have your period, for example. It could be that there might be some iron deficiency there, which will zap your energy like nothing else. It could be that you might have a vitamin and mineral deficiency. So that could be, for example, you're low on magnesium or you're low on something that is, and the way to circumvent that would be to take a proactive vitamin and mineral supplement, just a simple tablet. So I'll come back to this point. Malenka, just so we're very clear, because you are new with our academy, there's really 3 main supplements that we would kind of recommend, okay? Number 1 is creatine monohydrate, for the reasons that I've talked about in this podcast episode. Number 2 is a vitamin and mineral supplement. The chances are that you'll probably pee most of it back out, but what it is an insurance policy against possible underconsumption, particularly if you don't like vegetables or you don't like fruit or you don't eat enough meat or whatever. It's a way for us to just make sure, right? And again, none of the supplements that we recommend are expensive. So creatine, vitamin and mineral supplement, and the third one would be obviously whey protein isolate. So they're the 3 things that we recommend. And by the way, whey protein isolate is most important when you're in a calorie deficit, because you need an efficient way to hit your protein target without exceeding your calorie target too far. So yeah, long story short, there could be 5, 6, 7, 10 reasons why that might be the case, Malenka. Rach says, have you taken a chromium supplement? Would you recommend it to help curb sugar cravings? In short, no, Rach, I haven't. No, I haven't. Instantly, I don't know anything about that. I've never heard of a person taking a chromium supplement. I think that when it comes to sugar cravings, I think that the reality is if you've consumed sugar for a long period of time, like I'm talking about added sugar, it's natural that it's going to be addictive, and you have an emotional bond to sugar. It sounds a bit silly, but if you feel like, oh my gosh, I consume sugar, I feel better, that's an emotional link that's become hardwired, right? So I personally don't think that a mineral, so chromium is a mineral, I can't see personally how a mineral supplement would help offload a sugar craving. That wouldn't make sense to me. I think in terms of sugar cravings, my approach, Rach, is that I still get them hard. But for all of our sugar cravings, there are real simple alternatives. For example, let's say that you crave chocolate. I mean, for me, protein bars, I absolutely love them. So you could switch over to that. But let's say you've got sugar craving in the way of ice cream, right? And, well, okay, look at the difference between Ben & Jerry's, right, at like 600, 700 calories a tub versus Halo Top, as an example, at 300 calories a tub. So generally speaking, with all of the sugar cravings, there is an option or a swap that you could do. I also think that sugar cravings are the sort of thing where, probably like drugs, alcohol, is that there's like a withdrawal period of where you're breaking the habit. If you can make it through that withdrawal period, well, tell you what, you're going to break the habit. And I experienced this particularly with myself from drinking beer. Yeah, drinking alcohol-containing beer. It was actually hard for the first week, less hard for the second week, less hard for the third week, almost easy the fourth week. And I just swapped it to 0 alcohol beers, and that did the job. Does this make sense? Any other questions, team, that you want me to answer? Angie says, my sleep is crap. I need to work on it. Yeah, I feel you, girlfriend. I feel you. Okay, guys. Well, I'm going to love you and leave you there. Thanks, Rach. I hope it was helpful. Just remember, guys, whenever you have questions and you're inside our academy, what I recommend is don't be embarrassed to ask. Pop them on the group wall. And if we don't see it, you'll get a ton of guys and girls inside the group that will answer it probably before your coaches even can. All right, guys, peace out. Hope you're having a beautiful evening. By the way, guys, to the men coaching call, Australian coaching call is on tonight, so make sure you're around for it. We'll see you then. Sure.